I rise, giving all praise to Allah, the Father of the universe, cherisher and sustainer of all the boundless universes. I extend the highest of honors to His holy and divine prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam. I extend high honors to his forerunner, the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, the founder of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, who did indeed warn and stir up the nations. Islam Moors. Extending honors to the first Supreme Grand Sheikh of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Brother Ranesi-El. Extending high honors to our current Supreme Grand Sheikh, the Supreme Grand Council, Brother Heru Ranesi-El. Giving honors to all past and present Grand Sheikhs and Grand Governors of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Islam Moors. Extending high honors to the Moorish flag, the red flag with the 5-pointed green star in the center. These 5 points represent love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. These are the 5 highest principles known to man. Islam. Extending high honors to the American flag, also known as the Stars and Stripes. This flag exists as a constant reminder that the European nations owe you the Moors with compound interest. Islam. This is also the flag of our birth. Islam Moors. Giving honors to noble acting Sheikh staff and acting vanguard staff who keep the peace, and giving honors to you, the Ils and Bays, for without you, there is no Moorish movement. Islam Moors. Praise Allah. How's everyone on a holy day? Praise Allah, more praise Allah, gratitude. Before I get into my demonstration tonight, man, I'd like to offer some condolences. It's funny, like, you know, when you get behind the rostrum, if you've ever stood behind the rostrum in the Moorish Science Temple of America, you'll know that the ones who speak before you oftentimes tap into an energy, you know, of things that you're about to speak on. Sometimes it'll sync up so well, somebody will actually take your whole measure. You got to recalibrate once you get up. Somebody's already spoken on what you was going to speak on, right? The brothers that was demonstrating before me, very, very powerful demonstrations. Some I caught on the way up here on the Facebook Live. I be in the meeting if I ain't physically in the meeting. When I'm on the way, I'm still in the meeting. So very, very powerful demonstrations. But what I'd like to demonstrate, last Saturday, as a nation, we suffered a loss, as a Moorish nation. We suffered a loss, but you know, there's no failure for the human. So the oldest Moorish American in America just passed form, Sister Grand Sheikess H. Ranesi-El of Temple 28, Glassboro, New Jersey. Our sister was 101 years old. Praise Allah indeed. Now, if you know the Moorish Americans, you know, I couldn't do nothing but smile when I thought at this point that Moorish Americans, just like our prophet, we do everything according to science, right? So in our questionnaire, how many questions do we have? 101, and she passed at that same number. Islam Moors, praise Allah. This, you know, this particular transition, you know, means something to me personally, because you know, I grew up in a small town in New Jersey called Vineland, New Jersey, and I actually grew up down the street from her grandson, Brother Ahmad Ranesi-El. And you know, I remember when I was 14, seeing just like we are now in white, right? I remember seeing her. You know, she's a little short sister, you know, about this big. But I remember, you know, seeing her driving the car, going to go pick up her grandson for temple, you know. At that time, I had no knowledge of stuff, so I didn't know what it was. You know, she had a turban or looked different. You know, I didn't know what it was, but I just couldn't do nothing but respect the consistency that every week she would, every Friday, she was going to go pick up her son, and every Sunday, going to go pick up her grandson for the holy day. She pick him up, they'd go on for a couple hours. I'll wait to see if they come back. They come back, she drop him off and keep on going, right? So regardless of what, she always came and brought her child to the temple, grandchild to the temple. Right? I'm going to pass this around. I want to give honors to our Supreme Grand Sheikh of the Supreme Grand Council, Brother Heru Ranesi-El. He has a book series called the Mukarrabin Files, which is like a 100-year history of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Well, you know, I'd had it for years, and then, you know, one day I just went through it and I found this particular segment where this is from Temple 28 in 1986, and on there is Grand Sheikess H. Ranesi-El and her grandson. You know, she's at the top. You know, he's at the bottom. So this is it right here, and these are two. So I'll pass this around so y'all can see her and give honors, you know, to your ancestors. See, a lot of times when we talk about the ancestors, you know, you're going out throughout our communities, those who, you know, conscious, quote unquote, right? When we talk about ancestors, a lot of times we have a tendency to look across the water, you know, to Africa. You know, praise Allah for that, right? But you have to give honors to your ancestors. Islam, the ones that went through struggle here, the ones who sacrificed here, because you have a direct connection to that. Islam? Grand Sheikess H. Ranesi-El, you know, when she was a little girl, she joined the Moorish Science Temple of America. Her father had the whole family join the temple in 1935. Islam? So from 1935 to 2020, they stayed in the Moorish Science Temple of America consistently. Islam? I pray, one of my personal prayers, I pray for that level of, you know, commitment and dedication. Islam, from 1935 to 2020. Think about that, Morris. Islam, you know? So that's what we're striving for in this day and time. And we give honors to one who have done such work. Islam? Because when the prophet talks about ones leaving their footprints clearly cut, right? It says the teacher does not, does not point the way. The teacher goes the way first and leaves his footprints clearly cut. So that way, everybody that went behind him know that the master went that way. Islam? So this master walked the walk. Islam? So praise Allah. May Allah bless the good works that were sown in the flesh by our sister Grand Sheikah's H. Ranesi-El. Islam, Morris? Praise Allah. Praise Allah, Morris. So as that goes around, gratitude for the sisters. Appreciate that. Tonight, I'd like to talk about the law, right? Act 4 of the Divine Constitution and Bylaws of the Moorish Science Temple of America states, Salvation, Allah, Unity of the Moorish Science Temple of America, the Divine Constitution and Bylaws, Act 4, says all members must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all members must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you are a part and partial of the government and must live the life accordingly. Islam? What does the word preserve mean? To keep like new. That's a great definition. Anyone? Preserve. What does the word preserve mean? Protect. Say again? Protect. Excellent. Anyone else? To preserve something. Keep under condition. Now, where would those conditions be specified?
Depending on the scenario at hand.
Islam. So in this particular scenario, the Moorish Science Temple of America, where are our conditions described? The floor is open. I'm not picking on you. The floor is open. Anyone? How about our Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America? How about the Divine Constitution and Bylaws? How about Moorish literature? The articles taken from the Moorish Guide newspaper while the Prophet was alive. Islam? All right. Praise Allah. So I always love to hear from the young people. Praise Allah. I'd like to draw from, for those of you who have Qurans, chapter 47, and that will be on page 67. Chapter 47, starting at instruction 15. While y'all looking, demonstrate the front of the Quran, the Holy Quran, the Moorish Science Temple of America, divinely prepared by the noble prophet Drew Ali, by the guiding of his father God Allah, the great God of the universe, to redeem man from his sinful and fallen stage of humanity back to the highest plane of life with his father God Allah. Islam, Morris? All right. Chapter 47, instruction 15. The time has come that every nation must worship under its own vine and fig tree, and every tongue must confess his own. Through sin and disobedience, every nation has suffered slavery due to the fact that they honored not the creed and principles of their forefathers. That is why the nationality of the Moors was taken away from them in 1774, and the words Negro, black, and colored were given to the Asiatics of America who were of Moorish descent, because they honored not the creed and principles, honored not the principles of their mother and father, and strayed after the gods of Europe, of whom they knew nothing of. Islam? I'd like to introduce a word to the floor, and the word is member. What does the word member mean? What is a member? Anybody tell me what a member is? Part. Go deeper, more. A part of something. What does that mean?
Well, a part of something that is essential.
In what sense?
In a sense that it's important to the function of the whole.
Wow. Okay. Islam. So the part is not greater than the whole.
Islam.
Wow. That's a blessing. Thank you, Mo. I appreciate that. Glad having you here, Mo. It's a blessing looking upon your face, Mo. I just want to let you know that. Islam. Praise Allah. See, Mo, this is why we keep the doors of the Moorish Science Temple of America open. Islam, Moors? The ones are always welcome to come back. Islam. So I want to draw from something, right? Firstly, the Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, "Don't throw your Bibles away." Didn't he say that?
Islam.
Why would he say that? If he said we're returning the church and Christianity back to the European nations because it was prepared by their forefathers for their earthly salvation, while we the Moorish Americans returning to Islam because it was prepared by our forefathers for our earthly and divine salvation, why would he then say subsequent to that, don't throw your Bibles out?
Is it still beneficial?
Yes, sir. How though?
It still has, the context of it is still beneficial to one's well-being and how to move in life?
Islam. So I'd like to pose a question to the floor. Is the Bible a European text?
No.
In other words, did it come from the European?
No.
Okay. The authors of the different scrolls that make up Bible, right, were they Europeans? I'm not talking about the translators. I'm talking about the ones that originally wrote the original manuscripts in Hebrew. Or Asiatics, or even in Greek for that matter, because you know the New Testament was written in Greek, right? But how is it the New Testament was written in Greek? You know, our people aren't Greeks, right? Right? The same as you right now speak English, but you're not from England. Islam? Our forefathers at that time were under Hellenistic dynasties of European influence. And what they spoke back then was something called Koine Greek, which is Koine. Right? And so that was the language that they were doing in ecclesiastically and in certain circumstances, you know, financially through commerce and trade. Okay? So Greek became a popular language in that latter day, right? So some of our stuff is actually written in Greek, Islam, but that doesn't make us Greeks. Islam wars? All right? So I want to draw from Islam. Praise Allah. Is that the little one? First time seeing that without being all covered up. Praise Allah. Let me turn this fan off. I don't want to get cold. All right? What I want to draw from, for those who have phones and have access to Google, Google 1 Corinthians chapter 12. Because, you know, we talked about member being a part, and the part not being greater than the whole. Islam? Islam, Brother Jabbar? Islam. So, that would be 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 12. Let me hear Islam when you're there. 1 Corinthians. Corinthians is Corinthians. Hear Islam when you're there?
Islam.
Praise Allah. All right? So it says, and I'll do some translation work on here because you're going to hear some terms that might confuse you relative to the Moorish Science Temple of America. It says, for as the body is one and has many members, and all the members are of the body, even though many are one body, so also is Christ. For all of us who are baptized by one Spirit into one body, whether Jews or Arameans, whether bond or free, and we have all received through one Spirit. Now, keep in mind, this may read a little different, my translations from Aramaic. So may come a little different, right? It says, the body is not one member, but many. Islam, Brother Yosef, thank you very much for that. For if the foot should say, because I am not the hand, I am not part of the body, is it therefore not a member of the body? And if the ear should say, behold, I am not the eye, I am not a part of the body, is it therefore not a member of the body? If the whole body were eyes, where would the hearing be? If the whole were hearing, where would the smelling be? But now Allah, I'm quite sure in yours it says God, but now Allah has set every member in the body as it has pleased him. If they were all one member, where would the body be? But now there are many members, but yet one body. The eye cannot say to the hand, I have no need of you, nor can the head say to the feet, I have no need of you. But rather, those members of the body which are considered to be delicate are necessary. Islam wars, let me stop there. Those members which are considered to be delicate, right, are necessary. What does it mean, delicate? All right? When we come through the doors of the Moorish Science Temple of America, we come from the world. We got all kind of stuff on us, right? We got all kind of experiences, all different types of stuff, right? One thing we have to understand, right, is that you have to be patient with people, right? You have to be caring and demonstrate love and understanding with people, right? Just because you this far down the road, right, in your Moorishness, you can't put that on the person that just walked through the door. Islam? Just because you have a particular understanding and the person comes in with all these different ideas and they're all over the place, and you know they're all over the place, right? But you be patient. You keep the doors open and you keep them hearing the prophet. Islam, no matter what they come with, you keep demonstrating the prophet. Not just in voice of lip, but your actions. That's what your consistency, y'all were hitting it earlier. Your consistency is what makes people want to win. How many people have this problem? Prophet Noble Drew Ali introduced himself to you because if you be real, you wasn't looking for the prophet. He found you. When the prophet found you, right, it changed your whole state of being. Your whole way of thinking, your outlook, everything in the world, how you look at things are all different now, right? Your first thing that you do, you become a zealot. right? Everybody that comes across your path, you want to bust them upside the head with the prophet. I'll use myself. I ain't gonna put that on y'all. That's what I did, right? I even went so far as, going to my mother's refrigerator and throwing all the pork out that she bought. Keep in mind, I didn't replace nothing. I'm thinking I'm doing something cold-blooded. You know what I'm saying? This pork got to go. I went back to the elders and I'm bragging to the elders, right? The elders was like, hey, Mo, you out of science, Mo. That ain't what we do, Mo. But I'm saying, we don't eat pork right now. You're right, Mo, we don't eat pork. But did you put some food back in your mama's refrigerator? I was like, nah. So guess what you got to do tonight? You got to go shopping for your mama. Islam wars? All right? And if you trace yourself back, you were zealous in a similar way. Maybe not as bad, maybe worse, right? But that's the demonstration, right? But the reality is that you have to look at people where they are, right? Where they are. And you have to talk to them from a spirit of love, and you got to show them the prophet. You can't tell them the prophet. Islam wars? All right? Moving forward. It says, and it's 23. And on those members of the body which we think to be less honorable, we bestow more abundant honor. And the parts that are uncomely, we dress with greater care. We stop there, right? Psychologically, and this is rhetorical, I don't need an answer for this. Psychologically, where would you be at if right now during a meeting, a homeless brother came to the door, he said, I want to sit in the meeting, right? He didn't have the best clothes on, right? He may not smell the best, okay? He might not be clean shaven, hair might be all over the place. You understand what I'm saying? And his state of mind or her state of mind may not be coherent because they might be on an altered chemical that's altering their psyche, right? And they want to come and sit in because they see Allah's people present. Visibly, that's what we look like right now. But when they walk through the door, what looks are we going to give this person? What energy are we going to give this person? Are we going to welcome them, right? Welcome, brother, have a seat. And make them feel part of every part, right? Or we're going to ostracize them with our looks and our vibe and be condescending with our energy to turn them off from what the prophet is trying to teach us to be. Don't think it can't happen because I've seen it happen. Islam wars? All right? So just consider that. So now when it says, on those members of the body which we think to be less honorable, didn't say they were less honorable, which we think they are. Islam? Moving forward, it says, for our comely parts, our handsome parts, right? Our beautiful parts, right? For our comely parts have no need for attention. But Allah has so tempered the body together and has given greater honor to the member which is inferior, that there may be no discord in the body, but that they may care one for another, and all members should be equal. So when one member is in pain, all the members suffer it. And if one member is honored, all the members will glory with it. Now you who are in the body of Christ and members in your respective places, for Allah has set in his church, first apostles, after them prophets, then teachers, then performers of miracles, then those who have the gift of healing, helpers, leaders, and speakers in diverse languages. Are all apostles? Are all prophets? Are all teachers? Are all workers of miracles? Have all the gift of healing? Do all speak in diverse tongues, or do all interpret? But if you are searching for the greater gifts, I will show you in a more excellent way. Islam? So meaning that all of you are not gifted the same way. You know what I mean? So one of you might have a knowledge of history, right? You can remember dates and not even try. You just read it and it sticks. And when you go to explain it, you come with these dates and you know what I'm saying? And one that's listening to you might say, wow, I wish I could do that. But that might not be your gift, right? You might have another gift. Your gift might be making people who feel horrible better, right? Not by necessarily you saying anything. Some people, have you ever experienced this, like you might be feeling down and you go around a particular person and that energy makes you feel better? You know what, I'm gonna go see so-and-so. I'm feeling down right now. I know if I get around them, I'll feel better. Some people have that gift. Just quite also the opposite too. You can get around some people and their very presence to drain the mess out you. Works. 9 times out of 10 that person has a gift but don't know how to use it. The prophet says it's not in the possessing of things but knowing how to use them. Islam wars? All right? So what is being demonstrated here? What's demonstrated here is what it takes to be a part of a body, right? Now, if you're not aware, the Moorish Science Temple of America is a body. Islam? We're a body. Islam. The prophet is our grand ruler, right? That makes the prophet the what? If we're talking about a body, let's say a physical body. If the prophet is the grand ruler, that makes him the what? The head. What comes out of the head? What does the head control?
The body.
The body. What aspects of the body?
Taste, touch,
Nerve,
smell.
taste, the five senses, all of that, right? Nobody said breathing. But think about that though, right? The fact that we in analytical mode, we talk about information and, teachers of the prophet and all that, but you're breathing right now, which I hope all of y'all are breathing, right? But you're breathing, are you consciously thinking about breathing? No. So there's some divine force within your being that's controlling that even though you're not even thinking about it. Islam? Think about this. Let's think about the member, let's say a member that's a part of the body, but that does not serve the body. Let's look back at the body for that example, right? Are you aware that there are those that have eyeballs but can't see? That's an example of a member that's a part of a body that does not serve the body, right? There are those that have ears but are deaf, can't hear. They're members of the body but do not serve the body. Islam Morris? The prophet gives a demonstration on that. Let me see if I can get that for you. The prophet says, he gives a demonstration on those that have eyes to see but cannot see, ears to hear but cannot hear. He said, least they will be confounded of their sins, right? What is sin? Sin is adhering to any principle that deludes to slavery, right? That mess that you picked up from the Europeans under the subjugation that we still continue, and according to science, that's sin. Islam, and the prophet says it's through sin and disobedience that every nation suffers slavery. All right? So we have to go back and honor the creed and principles of our forefathers. But in order to do that, you must know the law that your forefathers put down. Islam Morris? All right? Now, does anybody have Moorish literature? Right here? For those that do, I'm going to be drawing from Think This Over, You Moors. Right? This constitutes some of the holy and divine laws of our prophet. Right? Because again, you have to remember in the spirit of your forefathers, you come to the temple to be reminded of the law. Right? So article's entitled, Think This Over, You Moors. First word being think. This is a thought organization. Islam says, all sheiks, grand sheiks, must prepare for the prophet before he comes to visit them. Must see to it that all is clean and in perfection as far as comfort is possible, or otherwise don't arrange to have his presence. Now you can look at that in the exoteric sense to say, wait, you already where I'm going. Islam, you already up the road with me. But you can look at it from an esoteric sense, in the time of 1928. Don't invite the prophet to your temple unless the temple is clean and everything's prepared and all that, right? But let's come up to 19, because this is the divine organization. Islam? Have we prepared for the prophet before we're asking his presence to be present? I'm talking about now. I'm not talking about 1928. What did you do today to get ready for Holy Day? Run your schedule back. Rhetorical. I don't need an answer. Right? When the challenges came today, because they came, you went through some adversity today. We all did. Right? When the challenges came, did you give in to the adversity? Did you get caught up and whatever, and then did you just happen to stumble in the temple and make it here today? Or did you declare your intentions up front when you woke up to say, you know what, I don't care what comes. This evening, 8 o'clock, I'm gonna be at Grand Temple 19 sitting there getting my instructions, my holy instructions. Islam, if you haven't done that or gone through that process, you haven't prepared for the prophet's arrival, right? That's what happens when you get here and the lessons are coming down, but it's not connecting with you. Your body, you're just sitting there in body life because you haven't prepared. Islam? Anybody ever go to the gym without stretching first? Islam, son, my son put his hand up. How does that work out for you?
Not so good.
Not so good. Why not?
You got to stretch.
You didn't prepare for that workout, did you? Islam? So you end up tearing something or stretching something in a bad way. Islam? I just want to stop to take notes. Sister Jalila Nia has on all white. She's obeying the holy and divine laws. This is a custom in Temple. For those that don't know, it's a custom in Temple 19. Every first Friday we wear all white. Islam Morris? All right. But and she's in accordance with the law. How old is she, Mo? 2. Islam, Mo. Praise Allah, Mo. Her parents are also in all white as well. Islam? Islam. No strange happenings. Law governs all events. Right? But moving forward, it says, all members should pay from 25 cents to 50 cents a week to the emergency fund. This fund will increase so that it will soon amount to the grand sum of $1,000. That is if you are loyal Moors. Again, this is 1928. He says, the emergency fund goes into the bank. The treasurer will tend to the responsibility of seeing that the money is in the bank. Yes, and under the name Moorish Science Temple of America Finance. When needed, act according to the law pertaining to the procedure of performing an emergency act. Moors, when we passed the basket around for public collection, and we were asking ones to contribute, so on and so forth, that's not just we're doing it in a robotic sense. There are situations that arise where ones are getting a jam and need help. We just had to demonstrate that this week. It was a family that needed our help and we was able to bless them, Moors. Islam? But if we're not doing what we're supposed to do, we can't fulfill what the Prophet charged us with. Islam? Because keep in mind, you cannot go to your enemy and ask him for money to fund your organization. Does that make sense to you? It is not. Is it in your enemy's best interest to fund you? Why? Think about the Moorish movement and what it entails. Would it be in the interest of your enemies to fund that? And if it's not, where's the money going to come from? I know it's the thing we don't like to talk about, but guess what? Until we talk about it, we still going to suffer slavery, which we have now. Islam? See it's those uncomfortable topics until we learn to grow up and deal with them. I'm talking to me, it has to get past my ears first before it gets to yours. Until we learn how to deal with the uncomfortable stuff, then we're not a nation. We're still living at the behest of someone else who, through their benevolence, chooses to give us anything. Right? Even take the election, right? That's kind of up in the air right now as far as where that went, right? But know that there are groups, organized groups in this country, right, that dealt with that as an organized group to get for their group. They ain't thinking about all American citizens. They care less. They think about their community, what they can get and bring back for them, right? That's their approach. But before the election happened, they were already organized, right? They have funds they can use to contribute to that politician's campaign fund, right? So that way, when when and if that politician gets in office, he can look back and say, who helped me? Aren't you more apt to assist someone that was in your corner rather than someone that wasn't there when you needed help? Works the same way in politics, right? So when the Prophet said in 1928 that he made us a nation, now you are a nation, right? You got to start moving like a nation. Islam? And I get it. We've been through a lot. It's hard. This ain't easy. Trust me, I got to keep the doors open. That's on me. That's not on nobody else. That's on me. It's my charge. Islam Moors? And it's not always easy, but guess what? Them doors, they're open, aren't they? Islam, but guess what? I ain't breaking no laws to keep them open. I ain't robbing. Just to let you know, your grand governor ain't sticking nobody up. Just to let you know. Praise Allah indeed. Because I don't come from being honest. I don't come from that. I come from all of that. Islam? But praise Allah for these instructions. Right? Praise Allah. Because I don't have to go to my lower self. Islam? All right? Moving forward. It says, no head of any temple is to borrow from any member more than $5 or $10 unless by notification of the Prophet, the necessity for the loan. When any said temple desires to purchase property, they must first notify the grand body or the Prophet, and it must be purchased under the name Moorish Science Temple of America or Noble Drew Ali. Question. If Noble Drew Ali passed form in 1929, how can you purchase land under the name Noble Drew Ali? Trust. You could start a trust or a foundation. And that foundation or that trust can, I just know irony that the law student probably could be graduated by now, I'm not sure. But I knew the law student answered that, because that's a legal question at that point. And you have to know that the Prophet, when he was demonstrating that right there, he's demonstrating law, right? But then later on, he'll get into, be careful how you demonstrate that, because I, the Prophet, got to know what's on me, right? Because dirty Moors, after that time, start doing all kind of stuff in the Prophet's name, right? Dragging the movement down to the very lowest. Islam, this is why we go back to the law to remind us what we're supposed to be doing. Islam Moors? All right? He says, and the individual name should never be applied. I, Noble Drew Ali, am responsible for all finance. So therefore, let I, the Prophet, know what is on me. Some of you have slipped and slipped drastically. So you had better lace up your shoes before I get there. Don't think because he's not in the form no more that he can't get here. Right? Because the Prophet's spirit comes through How many people, okay, this I need to answer for. How many people been present in the temple when the prophet's spirit swept through? Islam. Islam. How old are you, brother?
8.
Wow. Wow. Did you catch that blessing? He's 8 and is able to recognize the prophet's spirit came through. Something to touch him. And I can bear witness because he's engaged in a meeting on a level that some adults aren't. See, you doing something when you catch the baby's attention, right? What Jesus said, suffer little children, come unto me, right? His movement was, or what the prophet said, I come for the young and yet unborn. Or in another instance, he says, the one in the mother's womb, the one on her lap, and the one standing by her side. That's what the prophet came for. Islam. And if what we're doing now don't set it up so they can inherit something, we are all thieves, robbers, and criminals. There's no way that young man right there should have to go put out a job application for anyone asking for a job.
Islam.
And if we allow that to happen, then we are criminals embezzling the faith. Right? Because you free, right? Y'all free, right? Any slaves in this room?
Nope.
You're free, right? So if you're free, you put things in motion, not for now. That stuff that we're putting aside for now is not for now. It's for that generation. There are organizations which, I have several minister friends. And to protect their identity, I won't say their name or their affiliation. But there are churches that exist, right? Stop bashing the church because you're talking about stuff you don't understand, right? There are churches that exist that, I know one, this particular church group, they have 136 churches nationwide. They have never taken out a bank loan for any of them. Okay? They do it all from monies they raise themselves. This particular group, their founder started with Prophet Noble Drew Ali under the time of the Moorish Temple of Science back in those days. Islam, the brother was inspired by the economic program of the Prophet, right? But was touched differently spiritually and went a different direction, right? But the early people that started with him know that there was a connection between the Prophet and them, right? So what I'm saying is that when we ask for finance more, trust. I personally work 7 days a week, okay? So it's not going in my pocket. Islam? But know that when, like the brother asked a powerful question, he says, do we have any Qurans available, right? It was just a time thing. Time was crazy this week. We weren't able to print them. But the finance is there. But we just didn't have the time to print them. And for that, that's my fault. And I apologize to you personally, okay? But at the same time is that, because there has to be accountability, right? But at the same time, if the funds aren't there, we won't be able to do a lot of stuff, right? On the back of our authority, who has the Quran questions for Moorish Americans, the one-on-ones? Who has that with you? Islam, on the back, your bottom line in fine print, what does it say? Do you have it on yours? See Heard's revised statute. Do you have it on that one? It's not on that one. On this one, see Heard's revised statutes. And I don't have my glasses on, pardon cell phone. But it's chapters 32 and 36 of Heard's, H-U-R-D-S, revised statute, right? Right nowadays it's called the Illinois Religious Corporation Statute or something like that. The 805 they call it, right? If you go in there and read that, you can see all the things that this Moorish Science Temple of America is capable of doing legally. We can own land, print our own periodicals, we can set up schools, right? But, in the construct, it says parochial schools. You've heard this term before? What is a parochial school? Anybody ever gone to Catholic school or know anybody that went to one? Right? That's a parochial school, meaning that they go there to get religious instruction. They learn about everything else, but they get religious, so it's a Catholic school. Well, where's your Moorish and Muslim schools? They have existed. Islam, I know a brother Charles Bray, he comes to our temple from time to time, from the reincarnated side, from the lineage of our brother John Gibbons Hill. But he actually attended the Moorish school in Newark, New Jersey. Well, no, South Jersey, parts of it. Camden, was it? Camden, New Jersey. All right, so he actually went, and showed me some photographs of babies with turbans on and feathers and so on and so forth. So we've had this in our history, Islam. But we're in Atlanta. Atlanta needs that, right? You do realize that sending children to public school is not an option. Right? Anybody have children that's in that system? It's not an option. It's not an option. They're not going to learn who they are, right? That system is set up, respect to it, because it prays a lot, something's there, right? Okay, so I'm not going to be mean and unjust. But at the same time, that system is designed and devised to create workers, not entrepreneurs. You don't come out of that. Even college, if you don't have a cultural training, you go to college and come out looking for a what? Job. So you mean to tell me 4, maybe some cases 8 years? How much in student loan debt? Anybody got student loan debt in the room? Nobody just laughed. Y'all know Barack Obama just finished paying off his student loan when he got out of office. Whoa. Are you aware of that? Him and Michelle. Right? Because they both had, they like Harvard and Yale graduates, right? Law. What is it? Law school. So we know. Looking at that Moore's eyes, I see what it is. You know, it's not easy. Islam? All right? But at the same time, you have to send them in there, right, if we're going to send them there. Because ultimately, at this point, with the Moorish Science Temple of America being over 100 years old, we should have our own universities. Truthfully. Right? But we got to do what we got to do. Praise Allah for the elders that did what they did, because they were able to get us this intact. They were able to get us this intact. Right? Because if you know what happens in this movement, you're not supposed to have these. Islam? I have, and this is by way of our Supreme Grand Sheikh, Brother R. Edwards Hill, I have a copy of the FBI wiretaps from 1946 when they infiltrated the Moorish Science Temple of America and set up wiretaps on Grand Sheiks to try to find out if we were trying to overthrow the government or not. See, this is why the Prophet teaches you to speak a certain way. He wants you to look a certain way. We don't dress like other people. Moors are different. Islam? Moors don't look like Sunni Muslims. Respect to Sunni Muslims. Right? Because if the Prophet wanted us to look like that, he would have dressed us like that. You know, parents dress their children. That's your child right there, right?
Indeed.
So you had to okay that before he left the house, didn't you? Now, if he wanted to put on something else that you didn't okay, could he wear it? No. Prophet Noble Drew Ali is an adopted father to us. See, many of us didn't have, how many brothers in the room didn't have fathers? So when you get into this, you got a father now. Islam? 2, really. You have Allah, the Father of the universe. Right? Then you have a thought of Allah manifested in flesh. His prophet, Noble Drew Ali, Allah's prophet. Islam also. Now you got some direction. Right? So now you come to the temple to learn how to dress, how to walk, how to talk, what to eat, how to marry, how to be a father. You learn all of that. So don't come in here talking about what you gonna do. Right? Well, I'm gonna wear this because I think you. First of all, that I think you don't have. You know, it takes a certain amount of information to even ask a question. You need a certain amount of knowledge to even ask a question that makes sense. Islam? Know that when you come from out the world, you're discombobulated. You don't know enough to you actually have to fall in. Right? How many people were members of organized groups before you came to the Moorish Science Temple of America? You know what that does? It can work for you or against you. Right? Let me talk about the 4. It can work for you in the sense that when you come to the Moorish Science Temple of America, we're taught that, okay, you have to pay your dues and assessments. Well, yeah, that's not foreign, because when I was over here, I had to do that too. Right? So if you were a member of a fraternity or a sorority or this or that, right? Your dues over there. You have to raise funds. So we're doing this uplifting act to do something for the community, Yeah, we did that over here. So when you get here, it's not different. Right? Here's how it can work against you. It can work against you in that you're so full from what you previously learned, you actually come here and think that you know something. And what you're missing is context. And the context is you at the center. Islam? See, that's the thing, like, I'm big on don't allow foreigners to teach you. I'm big on that, right? And this is my journey. I used to be a Sunni Muslim, right? And I thought in my journey that I had to actually travel to Mecca, Saudi Arabia to find Allah. So I paid a lot of thousands of dollars to go to this land to perform these rituals because I thought that was going to make me closer to Allah. Guess what I found? Allah is closer to you than your own jugular vein. I didn't need to get on the plane to find Allah. But you know who taught me that? Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Guess what else I found? I didn't need to speak. I went out my way to learn Arabic and Hebrew because I thought that was going to make me a better Muslim. You know how many hours I took to learn these languages? Because I thought that was going to bring me closer to Allah. But guess what? Prophet Noble Drew Ali came and taught me that same truth in the language that I already spoke. You see how? You understand what I'm saying? But thinking that you know something. Do you understand what I'm saying, Morris? See, when the prophet is stepping onto that rock right here, what's it say on the rock?
Salvation.
Salvation, right? But the rock Understanding is the rock upon which man what? Builds himself. It is the gnosis of the what? And the no, which is basically truth and falsehood. Islam? So what foundation do you stand on? Because if you're Moorish American, I should know what you stand on. I shouldn't be guessing. Islam? When you see a Moor, you're supposed to know a Moor. Islam? So if you're in holy garments, I'm supposed to be able to look at your holy garments and how you're dressed to say, yeah, the Prophet dressed them. Islam? I give an example. And I'm going to show you the example. I'm not just going to give it to you. Anybody ever seen a picture of Prophet Noble Drew Ali? Well, I can't do it here because this one he doesn't have, it's not showing his shoes. But this is good enough. Looking at the Prophet, right? Y'all ever seen the Prophet wear sneakers with his guard? Jeans? Y'all ever seen the Prophet in a t-shirt? Why not? Let's make it a little, bring it down a bit. If the President of the United States, which this president, it wouldn't be shocking if he did. Respectfully, right? Came on TV with a baseball cap on backwards and a t-shirt and some jeans and went to go give the State of the Union address. Would that seem out of place? Yes. A little bit, right? A little bit. The Queen of England, if she came into Parliament, right, or the House of Lords, and went to go give a speech, right, and she had some leggings on, and a half shirt and a weave. See how we laugh at that, right? We laugh at that, right? We laugh, but why is it funny? It's funny because somebody of that lofty office shouldn't look like that. I've heard all kind of stuff, Grand Sheik, why we can't do such and such. Oh, you clearly don't know what you got, son. Because if you knew what you had, you'd do better with it. The people that's run around as you, called the Shriners, and I praise Allah, I'm not speaking radical. Right? Or trying my best not to. When they put that, you know, they can only wear their fez out in the open when they're doing uplifting acts. They got to look a certain way. I have their rules. Islam? And there's a lot of things they can't do when wearing your fez. Islam? So why do we think we can take anything that belongs to the Prophet and slop it up? Islam? You know, because if you're a member of the body, see, the hand can't do what the head don't say do. And if so, the head is damaged why it can't communicate the message. Or it's a damage in the body somewhere why I can't get the message for the hand to do what it's supposed to do.
Come on, teach.
See, if the Prophet is not right, the what? The temple's not right. But guess what? The Prophet is right. Not was. I didn't say was. The Prophet is right. I could turn on the TV on any news station and see the things that the Prophet talked about unfolding now. So the Prophet is right. Where are you right? Where are you at in the Prophet's right that he delivered? Islam? Jesus went in the wilderness for what? Self-examination. When was the last time you examined self? Because this movement ain't about nobody else. Ultimately, it ain't about you saving nobody else. Because if you do what you're supposed to, those who have eyes to see and and ears to hear will be able to see what you're doing and it'll inspire them. Right? But the word inspire means to breathe within. Right? So to inspire somebody still, that's coming from inside of them. Islam wars? All right. So again, let me finish this article. It says, everything, and this again, think this over your Moorish literature. Everything, every business transaction or anything pertaining to finance is to be transacted in the name of Moorish Science of America or Noble Drew Ali. We Moors must maintain a grand treasurer, just as in the days of our forefathers. Then you are a nation. Until then, you are nothing. The emergency fund is issued by no book, but an emergency card punched according to contribution. Then marked on a book, that is the law, and the law must live. The government is behind me, and I must get behind you. For I must uphold and enforce the law. My mission, not yours, but my mission is to save you Moors. The heads of all temples, grand sheiks, grand sheikesses, must conform to the divine principles: love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. They must live the life among the members and be loved even as the Prophet is loved. I mean, some of y'all may not know, because as far as the Moorish movement, Atlanta is still a young city. We're establishing here, right? The prophet came here in 28, right? But he said of his own mouth it wasn't time yet then for more science here. Far as south as the prophet set up a temple was Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Islam? So we find ourselves in Atlanta now, right? So it's up to us to, to establish what this movement is about. But there's some cities that you can go to that are older cities where the prophet actually sent people or went himself in 1928, right? You go to Baltimore, right? Prophet sent two brothers there, brothers I and G. Cook Bay, right? And told them to, set aside temples there, right? Go to the holy city of Mecca, which we refer to, that's our Mecca. See, the Arabs have their Mecca in the east, but our Mecca is in Chicago. So if you ever hear the Moors talking about Mecca, that's Chicago to us, right? Because we have our own way of talking. But you got to come and sit with us to know our lingo. See, every nation has its way of speech, its mode of speech, In my experience, I've been in Moorish movement 19 years, right? If Chicago is Mecca, surely Baltimore is Medina. If you walk through the streets of Baltimore with a fez on or a turban on, crescent pin and all that, it might be a brother that you see homeless laying in the gutter. You see that fez, he'll jump up, Islam, and your presence brings the prophet's degrees to life in him. Because them lessons been there since 1928. So when the prophet says, be loved as the prophet is loved, that's a lot of responsibility, right? Because they're never going to meet the prophet physically. They're going to meet him through you. So what example of the prophet are you going to give them? What example of Moorish are you going to give them? Tonight, my wife and I, we're coming out of our apartment. We're walking to the car. As we were looking just like this, we're walking to the car. It was a couple that came out right before us. They were going to their car right next to us. And the sister said, my God, they look beautiful.
Praise Allah.
That's exactly what I said. Praise Allah. Right? And the brother said, man, where y'all going? I said, to the temple. He was like, well, where's the temple at? I said, brother, let me give you a flyer. Always keep flyers. We got flyers for you. We got propagations because people gonna ask, what you know what I'm saying? It doesn't do anything just you writing stuff down or put it in your phone. No, make it personal. Give a person something. I said, let me give it to you. He said, well, where's the temple at? I said, on Cleveland Avenue. He said, I'm from over there. He said, where in Cleveland? He said, wait a minute. He looked, he was like, across the street from Wings and Seafood. I said, exactly. That's the Chinese restaurant right across the street. So he knew we were here, but just needed a personal connection to connect this space with the movement. Islam? But when you're out and about, right? Again, people they didn't see us, they saw the prophet. I don't have that power. My power don't extend that far. Islam? They saw the prophet because I declared my intentions this morning about what I was gonna do tonight. I didn't just pop up here tonight thinking I'm gonna talk, because a lot of the stuff that's coming to you ain't coming from me. Sheiks be scared to tell y'all that a lot of times because we don't want to spook y'all out, right? But we ain't deep like that. We your brothers and sisters, right? So when this oracle opens up, the stuff comes through us, not from us. You can do the same thing. We just come to show you the way to Allah, the Holy One. But we just your brother man and your sister woman. That's all we are. Islam? Moving forward. The heads of all temples, grand sheiks is must confirm. I read that already. Moving forward, it says, they must not practice the principle of segregation among any group in his or her temple. Let it be he or she that is the head of any temple of the Moorish Science Temple of America, that if there should come any grievance that cannot be settled by the head, notify the prophet at once. So the prophet gave the grand sheiks and grand governors the authority to be the head of their local temples, right? Or of the states in which they reside if their authority is grand governor, right? But if there's a grievance that can't be handled or settled, it must be dealt with by headquarters, which for us is in Baltimore, Medina. Islam Morris? Moving forward, it says, no member is to attend adept chamber that has not lived a moral and clean life and has not paid his dues or assessments, providing that he or she is working unable, they cannot consider themselves a true Moor. In other words, dues, right? You have dues that you pay to the temple, right? But the assessments are like the sick fund, the emergency fund, right? Emergency fund, you lose your job, but your bills still got to be paid, right? What did the government give when you couldn't go to work? They gave a stimulus check. But see, we have that process in our own movement. You shouldn't have to wait for that check. Islam Moors? But like anything, the only way you was able to get that stimulus check, you paid it. That was your money anyway, because you paid into the system, right? Same thing in the Moorish Science Temple of America. If you don't pay into the system, my mother used to always say, you got to put some in the well to get something out of the well. So we like to take from the well. but don't put nothing back. Islam? Receive and confer mutual helps and reciprocal obligations. Islam? All right, moving forward. It says, but traitors must be excluded from the books after having a fair trial by the head of the temple, and they must be sent into the grand body. Yes, we hold court in the Moorish Science Temple of America, right? You guilty of a violation, charges are drawn up, right? Your presence is requested, right? Or you're brought here, whichever way you want to do it. But you come here and then we try the case. Islam, according to the holy and divine laws of our forefathers, because we're a nation. And a nation of laws must enforce those laws. It makes no good if you're making laws and not enforcing them. Islam, it says, and all members that are able to subscribe towards the uplifting fund because it takes finance to uplift a nation. And those that are able and fail to act are not Moors, but traitors to their cause and trust and their nation, and are not allowed to share all the Moorish honors. It says, and the penalty is, and it's just a hyphen. It doesn't go into what the penalty is. The penalty is to be adjudicated, right? Depending on how things turn out in your trial and the specific crime, all right? It says, it is embezzlement of the faith of our creed. All heads of all temples must obey these laws. Islam Moors? Myself, the acting assistant Grand Sheikh, Brother Rafael Hakeem Bey, and acting secretary, and myself, we were together this week getting things together and in order because we turn our books in with finance reports and so on and so forth to headquarters in the 10th of every month. They have to be in by the 10th. If they're not in by the 10th, then we're considered delinquent and we're hit we're levied a fine against us, okay? That's why for those of you that receive calls relative to Islam Moors, you gotta get your dues and assessments, saying more, don't forget to send that in because there's a book, kind of like a book of life, and your name is written in there. Put in that book of life, it shows your works in the Moorish Science Temple of America. It shows what you've done. If you've been a part of uplifting acts, if you deficient, or if you contributed to your dues and assessments, and that comprises the body of who you are on record. Islam? See, this ain't no slop up. This thing it has laws. Islam Moors? If you know anything about the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, if you know anything about Capricorns, Prophet January 8th, Capricorn, they're sticklers for the form a thing is done in, right? So I can't, I can't get up there, we're gonna do the Moorish American prayer. No, Mo, stand upright, Mo Islam, Mo Islam. Raise it, Islam, standing on your square. It's a way to do everything. And if you do something that is not in our way and I correct you, don't take a beef with me. I've gotten that. I've gotten pushback from people, attitudes, from men. I'm not talking to you, sisters. This is from men. From men, based on me offering you a correction about what you're not supposed to be doing. And when I offer the correction, the haughtiness, that breathing that air in your chest. First of all, get that air out your chest. I'm correcting you based on something. This is an organization that's older than you. You don't have the right to come in here and disrespect this. Period. And that's my post, and I hold my post serious. Islam Moors, so if I correct, and I don't expect that from a man, no way. Right? Men should be military in design and in their spirit. So if I offer you correct Islam Moor, you step up to the situation and make the change. That's the only way we're gonna grow. Islam? But again, respect to our sisters. There's been a lot of brothers that have been raised without men in their lives. Right? Or if they had a man in their life, the man in their life didn't enforce the law like he was supposed to. So when they're faced with a situation of being checked for something they're doing wrong, they get emotional. Well, guess what? The Moorish Science Temple of America is here to correct a lifetime full of errors, right? So my job is not to be your friend. We can be friends later if we do the work together, right? But I'm gonna have to tell you something that you don't like. Islam? And if you decide to leave and don't come back, I don't like it because I want you here. Right? Because I understand the lesson. I understand the degree. Man is likely to find himself where he can solve his problems best. I get it. But I'm going to keep the doors open for you in case you want to come back. Islam? I'll tell you something about the Prophet, how much love your Prophet had. There was a grand governor at Temple number 4. I'm going to say this, and then we get ready to lower the meeting. A couple business things I got to handle, then we'll lower the meeting. There was a grand governor at Temple number 4 in Detroit, Michigan. His name was James Lomax Bey. Lomax Bey was a master organizer. First, he was, governor in Chicago. He did so great in Chicago, the Prophet sent him to Detroit, right? He organized a temple with 1,500 people. but it was thousands more that would want to come to the temple, but they had to turn the thousands away, right? He was this type of one. All kind of businesses, all kind of whatever. He was this type of person, right? He linked up with another brother who had turned traitor on the prophet, and they tried to divide the movement in the prophet's day. When the prophet found out about this, he said he sent 2 grand governors to Detroit to investigate, right? Because we have intelligence services inside the Moorish Science Temple of America, right? You'll have somebody come in and plain clothes, collect the information, see what the Grand Sheik is doing, see what the Grand Governor's doing, see how members are moving, see what violations occur, and report back to headquarters. This exists amongst us. This is real, okay? Sent to, Crumby Bay, and it was another, Grand Governor that he sent to investigate. When he got there and saw them, saw the penalties or whatever, the things that was going on, they reported back, and the prophet said, look, what we're gonna do is, he said, I declare the office of Grand Governor vacant for Detroit, for Michigan, Grand Governor. Took him out of office, but the prophet didn't throw him out of the organization because he said the Moorish Science Temple of America is a divine organization. This is a person that was stealing money. This is a person that started a coup. These people had tried to have the prophet killed. All of this. The prophet still didn't put him out the temple. So what does that tell you about the love that your prophet had for his people? That even his traitor, he didn't put out. Well, he did that 2,000 years ago when you called him Jesus. When Judas came and did the traitor stuff to the Romans, right? Jesus, when he was at the Last Supper, knew what he was going to do. Everybody's eating and stuff. He leaned over to Judas, go do what you got to do. Islam? Because he'd already declared his intentions and knew the ordeal he had to go through and met his ordeal with honor as a man. We talk about the divine strip all that away. Jesus was a man, right? That wasn't no boy, that was a man that knew he had to go through an ordeal and didn't run from it, but went to the nails, right? See, in the Moorish Science Temple of America, we have several nail up moments, right? We have several, we're gonna nail you up on the cross moment, right? And we're gonna ask you to do a particular thing that's gonna be hard for you, right? And how you perform under that. See, we have things that we do to separate the boys from the men and the girls from the women, right? And based on how you respond, we know, okay, well, we might have to be a little bit more delicate now. We might have to go a little kindergarten with this person because they're not ready for higher degrees of responsibility. Islam Moors? I'd like to call to the floor Brother Marquis Smith Bay. Up front, Mo. You ain't do nothing wrong, Mo. We got something for you. I know after that it sound like, what I do, Mo? We just got finished reading the law. What I got? You all as well, Mo. Got on a little bit. Take this off your head, Mo. Islam. Islam Moors? Islam. Praise Allah. Praise Allah. Honor to his prophet. Brother Lance, you can push this back for me, Mo? Brother Raphael, once you position, do what you got to do. I need you to my right, Mo. Islam Moors? Islam. Praise Allah. The Moorish Science Temple of America, we're called to do particular work. Islam, nobody just want to come up here too? Islam. Angels. Let's see. She won't take your post, Mo. Give her your, she playing the drum. She's drumming. Okay. She gonna drum for your ceremony. So we're called to, with us, all members must proclaim their nationality. Islam. If you notice, on the charter of the Moorish Science Temple of America, you have 10 wonders of the world, which are the 10 symbols that are placed on the charter, right? The third emblem, right, from here, right, is the fez, which on there says figure number 1, because the first step to your the first step to actualizing your God consciousness is having a nationality. You actually have to have a nationality before you have a God. Islam Moors? This fez right here is a symbol of that, right? And we have to remember that when wearing this fez, you represent all of your forefathers. You lose the right, when you proclaim your nationality. You got that card in your pocket. Our brother proclaimed his nationality. Was it 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago. Praise Allah. It's in my pocket. It's where it's supposed to be, Mo. Right? But when you receive that card, you forsake the ability to I'm just doing this because I want to do it. Right? Because you don't live unto yourself. The Prophet gives us a lesson. He says that no man liveth unto himself, but is what, boys? Bound by cords to every living thing. Right? So when you put this on, right? Or when people know that you're affiliated with this, you represent all Moors. So that means even the wrong that you do, people will think that all Moors do. Right? So, like someone quoted me earlier on this, but, I've been teaching for years that even when you don't have your fez on, have your fez on. Islam Moors? Because this fez, like I always say, does not make you a Moor. The turban don't make you a Moor, right? It's the dedication that you have to the movement of which this represents, what makes you a Moor. Islam was? The Prophet said those that don't, contribute to the movement, basically, robbers, and enemies to the cause, and justice must catch you. Islam, so I don't want justice to catch you, right? We also have a demonstration that says that, who made devil? And the answer was Elohim, right? And as a part of that energy, as a member of the third heaven, the AC of the MSTFA, I don't want to make no more devils, right? I have made devils in the past. I gave the prophets the degrees to people that should not have gotten them. And they went in the world and did a lot of harm based on my mishap of giving them degrees that they shouldn't have gotten, right? So I want to believe, I don't know yet, but I want to believe, right, that you are the message that you bring. I love what I see so far, but I want you to stay and increase on that path, right? So what I'm going to do, I should take one step forward. Islam, left foot forward. Put your right hand over your heart. Islam, bow just slightly. Islam, Mo. And crown you, Mo. Place this crown upon your head. Because, they say that our people are kings and queens, Mo. We're not kings and queens, Mo. What was the title given to our ruler in Morocco?
Sultan.
Sultan, Mo. Islam, Mo. So you are a sultan of sorts, Mo. And what I'm going to do, you're going to feel me squeezing the base of your fez, right? What I'm doing, this is what the Prophet Noble Ali did when he put the fez on Millie Ill's head, the first Supreme Grand Sheikh of the Moorish Science Temple of America. And the reason why he squeezed his head was, he told him, he said, don't let your head outgrow your fez. Meaning that don't become so arrogant as a Moorish American that you think you know everything. And everything is a holy and divine prayer. So I'll do one prayer in the tongue of our ancestors, and I'll do the Moorish American prayer. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. Ihdina siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Ameen. Moorish American prayer. Allah, the Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is our protector, our God, and my salvation by night and by day through his holy prophet, Heru Ali. Amin. Amen. Praise Allah, Mo Islam. Takbir! 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 Praise Allah. That Mo look Moorish. Look at that Mo. Turn around, look at Mo. Don't that look like that belongs on his head, Mo? Islam, Mo. Mo, come up here, Mo. Come stand with your father, Mo. Islam, Mo. Islam, Mo. What did you say, brother? You said it really does, doesn't it? Don't worry, yours is coming. You know that, right?
Yes.
You know you're going to have a fez that look just like that, right?
Yes.
All right? And like I told you last time, you got instructions to do too. You have a divine work to do too. You remember what I told you about 2 weeks ago? Prophet says, sons and daughters must obey father and mother, be industrious, and become a part of uplifting a fallen humanity. Be industrious means you got to work hard. It says, Moorish Americans, we work hard. As adults, we work hard for you. Your father works hard for you. He want to make sure that you have a better life than he did when he was your age. Do you understand that?
Yes.
You are a part of this temple. And everything that we do, we're doing for you. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Right? And it'll be your duty when you get my age to stand up and teach somebody else, just like I'm teaching this group here. Do you understand?
Yes.
Somebody asks you, say, what's your nationality? You know what to say?
Not really.
You mind if I teach you? Say, if somebody says, what's your nationality? You say, Moorish American. Can you say that? I'm going to say, what's your nationality?
Moorish American.
Islam. Can you say it a little louder for me? What's your nationality?
Moorish American.
Islam. Stand on your square and say it. Like this. Look at my feet. There you go. What's your nationality?
Moorish American.
Say it like you mean it. Say it with your chest.
Moorish American.
He stuck his chest out. More Islam. Because the Prophet said you're supposed to speak with clearness and power. Islam?
Islam.
And we're trying to bring families in here. Y'all are a family, right? Auntie Bay over there. That's Auntie Bay. They aunt, right? We affectionately named her Auntie Bay.
Auntie Bay.
Auntie Bay Islam. She was on the Facebook Live last week and was like, Islam, Auntie Bay is here. Islam. And we recognized and knew exactly who we were talking about. Islam. Think we didn't see that?
Y'all did?
Absolutely. In real time.
You see?
Auntie Bay, Islam. She responded to you. Islam. So we are a family up in here. Islam?
Islam.
And we're asking you to bring your family. I want to thank you for bringing your aunt and your son in this holy and divine movement. Keep being the message that you bring. Islam, I love you, Mo.
you too.
Love you more. Islam?
Islam.
Islam. Praise Allah more. Give him a round of applause. Praise Allah. Shout it out. Takbir. 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 Islam. Again, welcome home to the family of nations. Islam, boys. Islam. Remember more? Woo, you on it, more. Woo, y'all see that? See that? See, that tells people that you're a Moorish American. When you do that, I know that you came from Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Islam? You remember the greeting? Put your foot next to mine. Yeah, this foot right here. The other foot.
This foot.
Mm-hmm.
Put that foot.
Yeah, next. There we go.
There you go.
Put your hand on my elbow. No? That's cool.
Put this hand right here.
Open your hand.
Open it.
Open your hand. Put your hand on my elbow.
Yep.
Okay? We're going to decide wisdom, will, and love. Come back. Put your feet on the square.
Put your feet back. Yep.
Put your hand over your heart. Over your heart like this. Other one. Islam. That's how we greet each other. Islam?
Islam.
As brothers, that's how we recognize each other, okay? Praise Allah. Islam. One more time. Round of applause. Feel free to have a seat, my brother. Praise Allah. And with that, I'll lower the meeting. Islam, Moors?
Islam.
More time, Moors. Islam? 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 Islam. Islam. Moorish sign symbol of America. Noble Drew Ali founder. Home office, Chicago, Illinois. March 11th, 1929. A warning from the Prophet to be read in every meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must put an end to all radical and agitating speech while on their jobs, homes, or on the public streets. We advocate peace and not destruction. Stop trying out your cards with the Europeans, for it causes confusion. There has been much confusion caused by members trying out their cards. The cards are for your salvation. Failure of obeying by orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members that seek to hold malicious feelings towards the temple or the prophet or to violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors must obey the laws laid down to them by their prophet, and if they lose confidence in their prophet, give up your card and button, cease wearing your turban or fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. For this is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet, Noble Drew Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet is sending out a divine plea to all true Moorish Americans that they may do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Peace. Noble Drew Ali. Islam? Islam. Islam? Islam. 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 All praises are due to Allah and the highest of honors to his holy and divine prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I want to thank you all for coming out on Friday night. I know we went 35 minutes past what we usually do, right? But we say time never was, but man was not. Islam, when we got Moorish work to do more, you take a deep breath and you put your best foot forward. Islam? All right? Because guess what? How many hours the Prophet put in to put this thing together for us? You know how we're so many years past when he left us, but we still got what he brought us, right? And it'd be our duty to protect it, right? So praise Allah for that. I also want to give honors to the members of Grand Temple number 19. I want to thank you because this month, which is very rare in my experience, we have a 90% contribution rate of everybody contributing to their dues and assessments. 90% of the members of our temple contributed and did what they were supposed to do. Islam was? Islam. 90%. Praise Allah. Grand Sheiks wished for that. Islam? Islam. But Allah, the ethers are stirring, right? This might sound crazy. I praise Allah for Donald Trump.
Islam.
Praise Allah for that European. Islam? Why am I saying that? Because as long as he's doing what he do, you know you got to make some changes. Islam? I couldn't tell y'all nothing when Obama was president. We've arrived. No, you haven't. He didn't do nothing for you. Only because you weren't organized. Islam? But praise Allah for that, Moors. And I just praise Allah for having the temple doors open and seeing faces I haven't seen in a long time. That young man got super tall. Them legs, he might be looking about 7 feet, brother. I don't know. That leg is super long. All right? And with his fez on. That's praise Allah. That's a benediction to my soul. All right? But I love y'all with a perfect love. Ain't nothing y'all can do about it. I'm going to love you till you learn to love yourselves. Islam? Islam. You get mad at me and storm off. When you decide to come back, I'm going to still be here loving you. Because truth don't change. Islam was? Islam. All right? So I praise Allah for you. And we're going to close as we begin. Everyone, please rise. Face the east. I'm going to get some of my young people up here. Brother Marquis. He's Marquis Jr.? Islam. Brother Marquis Jr. Come on up here. You mind coming up here? Islam. Come on this side, Mo. Islam. Mo. praise Allah, Mo Islam. I love you, Mo. You know that? Islam. I love you, Mo. You know that? Islam. All right. Islam Moors, we're going to close with the Moorish American prayer. Please hold your feet at a 45-degree angle, standing on your square. Your heels will be touching like this. Raise 5 fingers on your left hand, 2 fingers on your right, invoking the sacred presence of the 7 Elohim, who created everything that ever was, is, and evermore to be. For our visitors, please adopt a position of prayer that is comfortable for you in giving homage to our collective creator. Please repeat after me. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. Islam Moors, praise Allah real quick.
الله أكبر. حي على